Hi again, this is Bill Warner, back for part 2 of evaluation. And now we're going to transition from marketing over to sales strategy and also talk about the final touches on your supply chain strategy. So let's get going. In part 1, I left off with this slide where I introduced you to the lead funnel and how to manage it and qualify leads. So just as a reminder, we're now talking about what we're going to do with the qualified leads coming out of the refinement of prospects through a qualification process. So now I'm going to tell you what the purpose of sales is. And of course you figured it out before I even showed this slide, but the purpose of sales, no other purpose, is to close deals, make the sale. And all of what you have to do leads up to this. And it's the results that are expected of a sales team. So sales is fairly complicated. Like we had to pick the right awareness programs for marketing to the buyer, we've also got to think through exactly how we sell and by what means we sell to them in a way that they expect. And it falls into 2 major categories: direct sales and indirect sales. I'm sure you've heard these terms before. Direct sales falls into a couple of categories too. Online sales, which are typical of consumer products sold online, as well as simple online services for which there's a subscription or a license fee or something, all sold online and supported online. But mostly you see, particularly for products and for complex services, a sales force, people who actually sell directly to the person that you qualified as a lead. This can be done with inside salespeople over the phone, inside meaning they're inside the company and inside the building, that's probably your sales headquarters. You can do it via telesales, outsourced to others who specialize in telesales operationals. You could have regional salespeople throughout the country and throughout the world for that matter. You can engage in independent sales representatives, people who are part of a company that just majors on selling and sells various kinds of products. They have a kit bag of products and you could be one of them. So that's online and as well as a sales force, all direct. Direct meaning you sell directly to the customer from some representative of your company. Indirect is really selling through others. You've heard the terms perhaps distributors, value-added resellers who provide their own value add on top of your product and then sell at a higher price where your product is included in what they're selling. Integration partners, where technical work is done to integrate your product within somebody else's and they in turn sell it. Maybe under their brand name, maybe not. Retailers, of course, and typical of consumer products, where you sell your product through various stores throughout the United States. So that's indirect, selling through others. So let's talk about online sales for a couple of minutes here. Your objective, of course, is high purchase rates, perform quickly at low cost, automated as much as possible, taking, of course, the human being out of the sales process because it's all going to be done online. It's also going to be supported online. And I've hammered you on that 3 or 4 times already in the course of this program. And the cost of all of this has got to be minimal. Then, effective online sales techniques are all over the lot, but they play off of each other, and you should be considering every one of these. You certainly got to have a complete description of your product online and some compelling imagery about it. Videos are almost essential. I know some people that say they're critical. You don't even put up a website unless you got some videos to demonstrate and show them how to buy and how to use the product and show other people using it, show how happy customers are using it, and on and on and on. It's very important. It brings life to what you're selling, for God's sakes. That's why videos are important. Certainly you've got to have compelling pricing, as we talked about earlier. You sometimes want to provide special incentives for some period of time or for some reason or for certain kinds of people. Special offers are always allowed. Allow them to rate what you've done with your site, rate your product. You get feedback that way, and you can put it on your site or refer to it on Yelp or any of these other places where product ratings and company ratings are done. Your site should be full of testimonials from happy customers. It lends a lot of credibility, believe it or not, to what it is you're selling if very credible people are saying they bought it and here's why. And again, I'm going to hammer you for the 5th time here, or 6th. A lot of times, support is all got to be online. You have your Q&A. You have chat to a computer, not a human being, through artificial intelligence means. FAQs, things that exist on your website to help support the customer all the way through this sales process so that human beings don't have to be involved. That keeps your costs down. And that's very, very important in online sales. So I'm going to talk to you about another funnel. This time it's qualified leads coming in the top of this funnel, and out the bottom is closed sales. So this is the funnel for achievement by your sales force. And let me talk about a direct sales force. These are people face-to-face or person-to-person in some manner selling your product once you've qualified them as leads. So the process you kind of go through, no matter where the salesperson is you hold a meeting, you confirm that they have interest in the product, you make an offer for them to buy it, and submit a proposal in so doing, negotiate the terms if the interest continues, present them a contract and get them to sign it, all of which has the terms for buying it, the price, how you're going to get paid, and everything. Now, your sales process is not going to probably look exactly like this, but it's going to have essentially all of these elements, maybe more, but this is basically how a direct salesperson, upon being presented a qualified lead, closes a sale. And that is the primary measure of the success of a salesperson. Now, your company is going to arm your salespeople with all sorts of tools. I've already talked about the ones in marketing, and this may sound redundant, but you're going to put testimonials in their hands. Other videos that demonstrate the product during the sales process. Documents that have FAQs and the specifications, a specification sheet in the case of hardware products, for example. You're going to have a customer relationship management system, a CRM, that helps them manage this whole process of sales, step by step by step, so that they can work on multiple people simultaneously and not forget where they are with any one of them. You're of course going to be supported by the social media presence that exists on your website. They can cite the blogs, and they can actually do some of the posting. They of course have to have a sales presentation and be able to execute sales 101. They have to be trained to be salespeople. You put demos in their hands as appropriate, either online or they carry it on their computer around each sales call. And the brochures and other data sheets that they can put into the hands of your qualified leads to help them decide and accelerate the decision process to final closure of a sale. Now, deploying an indirect sales force is actually quite complicated and quite dangerous. Because you think about it, if you're selling direct and you're going to put your product in the hands of others, you're running the risk of conflicting with one another. So you certainly want your indirect sales force to achieve sales objectives, but in so doing, you don't want to run into issues of you outpricing each other and confusing each other about how the product is supported. That all has to be cleared up at the point in time of establishing the relationship with the indirect sales force. The effective sales channel techniques that I want to make you aware of is that you have clear contracts. There must be contracts. This all has to be written down. because salespeople will make stuff up if you don't tell them what they can and cannot do. Your pricing has to be fair to them and to yourself, so don't try to pull the wool over their eyes and pay them less than what their cost is or something like that, because it's just not going to work. If you give them a fair price, they're going to give you a fair return and work for you as your indirect sales force. Provide them incentives. Reward them when they've done well. Be generous about that. The sales support is a little bit special because you're supporting them as your sales team outside the company. So you've got to give them the same kind of sales tools as your direct sales force. So the descriptions of the products, the compelling imagery, and the videos, and how to buy and how to sell, and special offers all apply to them as well. And then the support, the online support, hopefully, exists for them as well. You can provide it for them, or you can, in your contract, insist upon them doing it to support their customers. So, in managing an indirect sales force, you have to get these people working as if they were you, and support them as if they were you as well. And now it's time to put the final touches on your supply chain strategy that we talked about last week. So you now have done some more work, and you've got added details where you're going to name the companies in your supply chain, right on your supply chain map, the products and services that they provide, and a lot about the terms of the relationship and how their product or service is going to be delivered to you. How the money flows, very important. How you get paid and how they get incentivized. And of course the delivery schedule requirements that you're going to have, particularly for raw materials and anything having to do with manufacturing where materials have to be delivered, components and piece parts of your product have to be delivered on certain schedules, or your manufacturing line stops, for God's sakes. So it's now time to put the details behind the relationships by actually deciding who it is that you're going to be working with. Okay, for next steps, in class or in your mentoring session, you're going to be discussing your creation template and put the final touches on it. And again, update your elevator pitch and be prepared to present it again. The next session, you should complete the marketing and sales strategy templates, provide them to your mentor for review and comment, and to discuss in your next mentoring session. Of course, update the elevator pitch again based on what you've written in marketing and sales and supply chain. Okay, that's the end of this module. Now, if you have questions, go ahead and contact your instructor, mentor. And your choices for doing that are, you can email your instructor at innovationcenter@faytech.edu. You can make a call at 910-678-8496. And you can schedule a meeting with your mentor in the virtual office on Blackboard. You can also post a question on Question for My Mentor discussion forum and have others participating in the answer to the question. It's a good way of sharing information amongst participants. But please note that you should not post a question that is divulging confidential information. That would open up that confidential information to others to read. So be forewarned there. So that's it. Get your homework done. Look forward to talking to you in the next class.